All right, we're gonna end this thing with like a rip roaring Kirtan or something, right? We can't be so like academic. Oh, quiet. Thanks, Grace. Okay, so we're running on Indian time here, yeah? So, any questions? Maybe we start with questions before I get into my project or my presentation. So, first of all, I wanted to thank you guys for having me. And after having Keshav Maharaj to kick it off, you had Bhakti Vasudev Maharaj, right? And who else did you guys have? You had Braj Mohan Prabhu last week. So you're getting all these amazing souls coming and talking to you and giving you just amazing insights, and then you got me.
That's amazing.
So I guess what this is this goes to show you that devotees come in all shapes and sizes, and all also degrees of realizations too, right? And as devotees, we also have different functions, right? So my dharma is different than Bhakti Vasudeva Maharaj's dharma, right? In the Bhagavad Gita, is Krishna speaking to Keshava Maharaj? Or is he speaking to us?
Actually, to Arjun.
To Arjun, but he's speaking to us.
Yeah.
People who have a materialistic dharma to carry out, right? And whereas, Raj Mohan Prabhu last week, he's like, I went to IIT and then I decided to become a monk, right? Because that's what was his calling. And I'm sitting there and I go, one of the major reasons you can become a monk, when you want to become a monk, is because you just have less distractions. That's literally the biggest difference. So my mindset from working with, I was traveling and working you guys in school, this material world disturbs your mind, doesn't it? And so it's hard to like, okay, get back in the mode. it's almost like a defense mechanism. My spiritual practice is a defense mechanism against this material world, because all the things, all the inputs that are coming in, I'm just trying to, block them all. And we're going to get into that. So today's topic is going to be about, is illusion real? Or what is illusion? We're going to define why we struggle, why our mind fights us wanting to be spiritual. Why is spirituality not fun? First of all, we're going to figure out if the spiritual topic or the spiritual life is worth discussing. It's worth doing, because that's the question, fundamental question you have to answer for yourself before you can go any further. Okay, and Krishna actually mentions it in the Gita to say, hey, ask your questions. Okay, get with a guru like the ones we've had and ask them as many questions as you want, and your heart's, content. So we have to ask these fundamental questions of, is spiritual life real? Okay, so if the spiritual life is real, then what's this material life business? So that's what we're going to get into today. Okay, so before I get into that, I know the crowd comes a little later, but not necessarily waiting for a crowd, but anybody have any questions related to this topic before I get going? I'll make sure that I'll address that are deep inside of you, meaning like knowledge comes from question, right? It comes from questioning. So the concept of spiritual world and a material world, do you buy into something like that? Do you have any questions around that? Anything before? Yes.
I'm just trying to set a premise here in terms of understanding. Probably you can help me with that.
Yeah.
Can you get a little deeper into letting us know why it is that we are first of all put into this illusion, and why does that we're born?
Okay. Right away. Why are we here? It's probably one of the hardest questions to answer and to understand. The easiest, the cop-out answer I can give you is, it's so complex, I can't really go into it, right? The reality of the situation is we want to enjoy separately from Krishna. We have our constitutional position, or who we really are, and we're going to get into this perverted inversion of how we think and what is reality, is we are servers of Krishna. So what that means is the max happiness we can ever get in life. Like, think about when you were so happy when you get an IIT master's program, or whenever you were the most happiest, your sister gets married, or whatever it is. Times 1,000 is when we're serving Krishna with pure love. Okay, that's the premise. When we start serving somebody other than Krishna, we start to lose that happiness, right? And so why are we here? Well, it's because we made a conscious decision to enjoy and sever that tie of servitorship to Krishna. That's basically how we come here. And Krishna says, okay, that's what you want. You want to enjoy the fruits, if you will, because you still enjoy in the spiritual world. You enjoy what? Prashadam Krishna, basically, right? You still enjoy. You just get the leftovers, if you will. So let me ask you a question. So if you guys have all gone to the temple, if you haven't, you should go. But all of you had prasad before, right? At a temple, had the food. Did it taste bad? Unless it was bad cooked, right? Usually it tastes really good. But that's Krishna's Juda. But it tasted just like if you would have just got it and did nothing, you would have bought it at the store, right? Or you would have made it at home. You follow me? So we end up here because we think we're going to enjoy more by not having the remnants of Krishna, basically. And so we can enjoy by ourselves is how we end up in this world. To play out our happiness, like, hey, I want to be happy by myself. I want to enjoy as much as possible. And Krishna allows that. And so that's why we're in this material world. Now, another answer could be, I'll take it. So I gave you the positive version. There's quote unquote a negative version, but it's still real. Is we defied Krishna, because remember, this is in Christianity too. We defied Krishna, so Krishna says, come to this prison house until you're rectified and you can come back to me because of your punishment of disobeying me. Come here. That's one way to look at it. That's another way to look at it. Okay? And the more we get disillusioned by this material world, meaning we think this is where we're supposed to be and not in that relationship with Krishna as a server, we get more and more bound to this world. So what does that mean, more and more bound? We keep searching for happiness in a place that can't really provide the true happiness that we want. That's bound. That's our punishment. Our punishment is, go over here. This will make you happy. And it doesn't. Short term, it does. But then we lose it. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Pretty much. So in summary, it's either we were sinners or we were stupid enough to make a conscious decision.
Exactly. Or I like to think of it as like, I have children. When they were babies, I was on an airplane today and I seen a baby. It reminds me of when my kids were young, and it was so long ago. And now they're your guys' age, right? So think back to your childhood. You made some silly mistakes. What did your dad do, or your parents do? Oh my God, they just view it as a silly mistake because you're a child. Sometimes you had to live with the consequences of your mistakes because you broke something. God forbid you got hurt. Parents still loved you. They still tried to provide you with guidance. But at the end of the day, children make mistakes. That's another way to look at it. Okay? We made some mistakes. And so we're here, and now we've got to figure our way out of it. Okay? So that's kind of what it is. So any other question? Great question. Thank you for doing that. Because that's a fundamental question to say, really? This seems kind of weird. All right. So I was having a conversation last week with some people, and we say, okay, so Prabhupada, who's the founder of ISKCON, he used to say, this is scientific. Scientific. You guys are scientists for all intents and purposes. Do you think religion is scientific? Or actually, the Vedic culture, the Vedic scriptures, do you think it's scientific? I'm hearing he nods, yes, and he knows. It's okay. There's no right answer, wrong answer.
Don't know.
Okay. It's scientific in the sense that there's a premise, right? Even science starts with the premise that there's life, but we don't know where it comes from. So is that really scientific? It's faith that it came from. Where did life come from? They don't know. Right? And you guys can challenge me. You guys are, I'm not the expert here, but you guys are experts. So even that premise of science is based on faith to a certain extent, right? And so what Prabhupada lays out in his plan of self-realization, right? And what is self-realization based on what I've said so far? What do you think self-realization really is?
Knowing
Context of
self.
illusion.
Knowing self.
Knowing self?
Yeah, like knowing that you're a servitude and just saying sorry and go back.
Bingo. Self-realization is understanding our true relationship, which is of a servant. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into it. So, do you believe that our true happiness comes from serving?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. If you don't, I want you to ask a question. Just say, hey, I'm not so sure. I get happiness when I'm playing video games or when I'm doing things for myself. So, let's go into this. So, I want to start. Did you guys ever have, did you ever hear of this concept that if a lie is repeated to you over and over and over again, you end up kind of believing the truth, or some parts of it starts to It happens in our political system sometimes quite a bit, right? And so that's what's kind of been happening to us, guys. In ancient India, and you guys know this because you have heard stories from your parents or your grandparents about how kids went to Gurukul and they learned spiritual life as well as, they had their regular academics as well, right? But over time, over the last 100 years, basically the world is telling us that, hey, we need to concentrate more on this academic education, material education, more and more and more, and then at what cost? At cost of spiritual education. Okay, you're with me? Why is that?
Fortunately for the British, they wanted to do that because they did not understand the depths of the culture,
Yeah.
and they were insecure. They wanted their education system to stand out.
Okay.
They wanted to cut it out at the roots.
Okay, beautiful and very accurate, right? So basically, if I can just turn it around a little bit, it's outside influences that affected our true identity, which was spiritual education. So now I want to start by playing a musical. So I need some volunteers. Come on down. Somebody, come on down. I don't want to have to pick people. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need like 6 or 7 people. Hey, Greece, you gotta play the music. Okay. You played musical chairs before?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what we're gonna play. We got enough? No, we need a girl for sure. We can't let all these guys do it. Come on down. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Okay. So go ahead and start walking while the music is playing, and when the music stops, you guys have to find your chairs. All right, let's do it. Yeah. Yeah, be loud so they know when they're. Okay, Prakar, you're gone. Okay. All right, well done, guys. Keep doing it. Perfect. The winner gets $100. Actually, the winner gets $20. Okay? Okay. Sorry, Kumar. I should have switched that before. Oh, all right, it's okay. All right.
Okay. Are we gonna keep distance between them?
Sure, let's do it. See what you guys doing. Remember, $20 winner gets. Who got that one?
I don't know.
We both sat.
Okay, so you guys pick between who won there.
Rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors.
Come on,
Okay.
Anirudh, let's play.
Okay.
Let's make it.
All right. One left. Let's do this. Let's see who wins. Good?
You want it?
There you go. Well done. Okay. All right. What was that? If I told you that's the material world, would you believe me? How many people are looking for jobs right now? Do you feel like that? Right? So basically, the material world has a finite amount of resources, but not enough for everybody. So the less resources that ends up happening, we got to devote more and more concentration, effort to get the limited resources that we need for ourselves to sustain ourselves bodily wise, right? And why is that? Wait a minute. Why, if God is good, why did he give us limited resources? He didn't. We have plenty of resources. But why do they feel like they're scarce? Why are we fighting that much more for these jobs? Like, there's 100 applicants for one job, right? Why is this? Capitalism. Okay, anybody else? Why is this happening? If I tell you God created plenty of resources, but you live in this world, do you think there's enough resources for everybody?
Yeah.
What's with this company? Huh? Exactly. So what happens is we take more than we need. And then when other people start taking more than we need, I want my bank balance. Well, I got this, but what if I lose my job? I want more money. I want more money. So what ends up happening is it becomes scarcity, right? Because we end up taking more than we need. And that's why we have this competition for these resources. And that competition leads us to be hyper-focused on just caring for our body. Just our body, right, Bhavesh? You want to be able to just have a family, have a house, you're not asking a lot. You're just saying, hey, I just want to be able to support myself and my family properly, okay? But now, in order to do that, we have to work more and more and more. Yeah? That's the examples. Does that make sense? So that's why spiritual education is less and less. Material education is being concentrated on more and more. Do you need material education? Absolutely. Even if you go back, like listen to your grandma's stories, still learn how to, if you were farmers, you need to learn how to farm, right? Right? Just simple stuff. Cooking, cleaning, those things are all material education as well, right? To take care of our body. Okay, so that's an example of why there's scarcity. It's because of our appetite to want more. Because if you put like, maybe, I don't know, if you have animals and you put like food down here, an animal will eat, get full, and it might take them a little while to get full, but they'll get full and then they'll walk away. They're not going to get full and say, I'm going to throw this over my back for later. Right? We're the only ones that do that, the humans. Okay, so does it make sense? All right, so we're going to get into it. So let's get into illusion. So what happens? Why does this happen, right? So what is illusion, if you guys were to define it? You can say it.
Away from reality.
Away from reality, right? Not understanding, or let's see, not seeing the hidden meaning, right? So now, Rishabh, can you do that thing for me? Okay. Go on. What else? What is illusion to you guys? Yes.
Can I say collective illusion is equal to illusion?
Collective delusion is equal to illusion. I love that. Actually, that's a really good definition. Thank you.
Mohit, the password.
Oh, yeah. It's a company laptop. Anything else, illusion-wise? You kind of got it, right? Not understanding the reality. You guys ever seen this kind of pictures before? What do you guys see? So who sees the young woman? A lot of people. Who sees the old lady? Okay, some people, okay, we send this down. You guys understand the meaning here, right? Same picture, people see different things. Okay? That's illusion. Who's right? Don't know on this simple picture. I'm not sure what the psychological, meaning behind that is. But basically, the point here is you can see something different than the person sitting next to you based on your consciousness or your interpretation. Make sense? Okay. So you ever think of like seeing is believing, right? So we have a hard time believing that the spiritual reality exists is because it's not empirical. There's nothing, it's not there. I can't see it, right? So spiritual is hard to grasp that there's a spiritual reality out there, right? Materially, oh my God, I can see a car, I can see a human being, whatever, right? So how do we get through this illusion? Like how do you get through this conundrum of where you're not really seeing something that's not empirical, that's right in front of us, right? So how do we break through that? And how are we supposed to believe it anyway, right? Let me ask this question, because for me, seeing is believing, right? So can you see human emotions sometimes? Like love, can you see love? Like is he in love? Can somebody tell me if he's in love with anybody? It's hard to tell. It's a human emotion. But can you feel love? For sure, love is real, right? Everybody agrees love is real? But I can't see it. Okay, so there can be a reality even if we don't see it, right? Human emotions are the best ones to look at for that perspective. So I'm going to read you. Keshav Maharaj was here. I don't know if he ever did this. I missed his. I wasn't here. But I want to kind of break through that illusion. And he does such a great job in his book. And his thing is, hey, the world is teaching us one thing, but spiritual life teaches us something else. In other words, we are disillusioned by the world because of its teaching, and we break that illusion by understanding the teachings of our scriptures. Okay, so the world teaches leave the problems. Guess what? The scriptures teach learn from problems. Act first, ask later. Spiritual, ask first, act later. So here's the best. This is my favorite. You can be anything you want. You agree with that? Or if I say, try to be the best that you can possibly be. Okay. You gotta be honest. How many people wanted to be prime minister or president when they were young, when they're kids? Raise your hand. Okay. Cricketers. Any cricketers in here that wanted to be cricketers? Okay. Okay. And I'm not going to call you out on it, but why aren't you a cricketer?
I'm not so much a sports person.
I mean, who wanted to be a cricket player? You did, right? Okay. How about you? How come you're not a cricket player?
It was my childhood dream. After that, I realized like what reality is.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. But the world tells us you can be anything you want. And you wanted to be a cricket player. So what the heck happened? Is that a lie? Let me ask you this. So now let's take the converse of that, right? You can be what you were meant to be. Can everybody be what they were meant to be?
How do you know that? how you're meant to be.
Okay, we're going to get to how do you find out what you want to, what you were going to be, right? But I just want to make this clear, very distinct, clear. Our material education, especially in the Western world, I grew up with, you can be anything you want if you just work hard enough. That's what I grew up with. That's my reality in America. That's the reality in the world now, right? In India included, right? Anything you want. How come everybody's not a doctor like they wanted to be or whatever, right? So did you see the fallacy in that illusion? It creates an illusion for us. It's a fallacy. But I think every one of us can achieve who we truly were meant to be. Right? You would agree with that? Okay, that's the spiritual version of it. That's what our scriptures teach us. Okay, not far off. What's your major? Finance, right? Yes.
I just want to add one point. Your first point was we can be whatever we want. Actually, we cannot. There is one sloka in Gita where Lord Krishna defines that the success. If you are whether you are going to get success or not, these things are determined by 5 factors. I actually forget those factors.
Yeah.
So I disagree with the first point.
Disagree with what point?
You
can be anything
you
what you
can be
want.
whatever you want.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We disagree with it because that's what the world teaches us. The Gita teaches us you can be what you were meant to be. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
I was just saying the world. I agree. I agree with you, 100%. Those 5 things. It's another class, but 3 gunas, right? A little bit of us, our karma, and Krishna himself. Those are the 5 things. So we're in agreement here so far, right? So this is where the illusion comes from, guys. It's from the fact that we're fighting for chairs. In other words, what are the chairs? Limited resources to provide for our body, because us as human beings want more and more and more. So people get disproportionately more than they need. Hence, our natural resources become scarcer. Hence, you got to spend more time in material preparation to be able to get the limited resources that you need to provide for your body at the cost of spiritual knowledge and education, which creates what? If there's a lack of spiritual, it's going to create an illusion for us. We're going to start to believe that he can be a cricket player. Does that make sense? Yeah? We played musical chairs earlier, and we were just showing that that's what the material world is like. There's always less. Somebody always gets left behind, right? Does that make sense? So have we defined illusion and why illusion happens? And it's possible. Illusion can happen if you repeat a lie over and over again. We start to believe it. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm educated. I have a job. I have a corporate job. I'm not saying quit school. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying understand what you were meant to be. And we can have a class on that. Because as young people like yourselves, you're in that process of finding out what you were meant to be. And it's yes.
I was the first one to be self-realized.
Yes. He was the first one to be self-realized. He got hit by illusion or Maya. You've heard of that concept, right? By what? He suffered because he didn't get what he wanted. He had an attachment to that chair. He wanted that chair, didn't get it. He's lamenting. And he goes, oh, what is this life worth? Oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. So he self-realized, I'm going to follow a spiritual path. That's a nice joke. I love it. Okay. So we established illusion and how illusion happens, guys. That was the hardest thing for me to get through. I'm like, what is this business? Like, what do you mean I can't be whatever I want? But no one presented it to me like, well, wait a minute. You wanted to be a baseball player when you were young. How come you're not a baseball player if you can be anything you want? Then it comes to things, oh, I didn't try hard enough. I didn't do. No, the bottom line is I didn't have the skill set to begin with. I wasn't meant to be a baseball player. Yeah? Okay, cool. Everybody got that? Okay. So Keshav Maharaj does a great job of like just going through like different idioms, if you will, that the material world teaches us. And it's not like there's some conspiracy theory, somebody's in there like, you know, a villain in a Bond movie, like trying to control. No, it's not. It's just everybody doing what? What is it? It's everybody trying to get that little bit of resources so they can take care of their bodies and their families, right? It's the scarcity of resources that innovates people to come up with better ideas so you can make it materially, which is actually pretty healthy if you really think about it, right? Okay, so this is what illusion is, right? So let me ask you a question. Is it real? That was my talk, right? So is illusion real? Yeah. Right? You see how easily, just a play exercise, we kind of saw the reality of illusion. It exists. It's not your fault, Rishabh. This is the world we live in. But what is it that we're going to do about it when we understand it? So the first step in spirituality is to understand there's illusion. And 99% of the population doesn't understand they can't be anything they want. They just can't. Okay? That's the first step in growing spirituality. So I opened it with that we listened to Swamis, and they're on a spectrum. They're like up here spiritually. I'm just like you guys, just fast forward 20 years, 30 years, right? I've been beaten up with life, Prakar. I haven't had my chair multiple times, right? But you guys can be yogis. That's what Krishna teaches us in the Bhagavad Gita. Why is the Bhagavad Gita talked about in like such beautiful terms? Like Ralph Waldo Emerson says, the Gita is the nectar that I drink in the morning for breakfast. Are you kidding me? I don't see a lot of people saying that about the Bible or the Quran. Now, they respect it highly. What's the deal with the Gita? That Albert Einstein, who's the ultimate scientist, says this is a true form of understanding the next dimension. Why? Right? Got to ask yourself these questions. Okay, so the first step in spirituality is to get rid of that illusion. And once you get rid of that illusion that, hey, what I'm programmed through my life, through this life, all this time, then you go back to what to say about karma and how many lives you guys have lived, and you've absorbed this wrong distinction of what life really is about. So it's hard. It's hard to break free from that thinking, if you will. All right? So my ask of you guys is this semester or this year, start on your journey. If you have answered correctly that illusion exists, that he cannot be a cricket player, then you realize there's another realm. There's a spiritual realm. You owe it to yourself as intellectuals to at least find out if go deeper into this intellectual or the spiritual world. If you do your inquiry, so the next step is knowledge. How do you get knowledge? Through asking questions. Through refuting like literally go in there and say, nah, I'm not buying this. Right? If you don't do that, you will not move to the next step, which is faith. Who asked that question? You asked that question last week to Prabhu. You asked, I want to do what's right, but I still can't do what's right. What was his answer?
That find a good sangha.
Yeah, but he said something more.
Yeah, he said, do what you can to the best you can.
Yeah.
And find a good sangha that will help you.
Yeah.
Go on the road.
Okay. There's one more piece that he said was very, very critical. Is the reason we don't do things the quote unquote we should. Why? He said because we don't have enough faith in it. Think about this. If you want to do something, you got to be full with desire to do it, right? Think about something that you did really, really well. I mean, school, guys, master's program. Regardless what your, what your major is, it is tough. If you truly do not have the want to do this, you're not going to make it. Right? Agreed? That's what he said to you. Until you have full faith, you're going to struggle in trying to do it because you're subconsciously, your mind is going to be, do I have to do this? Right? Do I have to do this? How many people change their diet after a heart attack? A lot. Before the heart attack, not so much. When you get to my age, those things start to become real. Like, oh, shoot, there's an expiration date on me. And I got to quit eating jalebis when my wife is out of town. All right? Things like that. Okay, so we've got to have knowledge, right? And once so we get rid of the illusion, start asking questions. You owe it to yourself. You guys are intellectuals. You're doing yourself a disservice by not asking the questions. It's worth it, right? There's something else there, so ask those questions. And then after you ask those questions, then what did he say? Start to associate with people who are asking similar questions. Make sense? How many of you guys are in projects and groups together for classes and stuff? All of you guys, right? Well, how come you don't ask me to join your group? Why not, Risha? I thought we were friends, man. No? You get the point? So that's the next step. This is, I'm going to get to the scientific piece. Right? So you hang out with people who are asking the same questions, and then you ask questions together and you say, I don't know. It sounds right, but still not convinced. Okay, that's fine. Start a little bit of a practice. What practice do you want to start? So I'm going to ask you a question. You can share if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want. How many of you guys, irrespective of denominational religion, doesn't matter, how many people have a spiritual practice, let alone if it's for 5 minutes in a day, let alone if it's just like, oh my God, thank you, God, or God, please make this day okay. Whatever it is, even if it's prayer, even if it's whatever. How many of you guys have a spiritual practice that you follow every single day? Thank you. So the ones that didn't raise their hands, try to find something you can do on a daily basis that's spiritual in nature. Those of you guys raise your hands, continue to do what you're doing. And if you keep asking those questions, God's going to provide you with your next step in terms of what you're supposed to do in your spiritual practice, and it's going to be meaningful. You're going to want to do it. If I tell you to chant 16 rounds, there's no way in heck you're doing it. But if you want to chant 16 rounds, you're going to do it. Yeah? You guys, I'm an example of someone who got kicked around by the material world. Like literally, I was in so much illusion. I grew up here. I had an inferiority complex because I was like the only Indian. Believe it or not, I was only 2 Indians in my high school class. It's not like that now, but the point is, I wanted to fit in. So guess what? People who want to fit in, they're even more disillusioned. And I just completely bought in. I can be anything I want, and money fixes all my problems. Okay. The American appeal, why you're here, so don't say you're not here because of the American appeal. It's very alluring, right? So it's normal for us to get attracted to it, especially when we're young. I was like that. And what I'm going to tell you is, and what I'm so grateful for is the fact that as you begin your spiritual journey, you're going to find out how caring and forgiving that path could be. Once you start to really become self-realized, you'll start to see the mercy that was around you and you never even saw it. Okay? I'm going to tell you vivid examples. I've shared this last year, but I had 2 boys, was married, and all I wanted, I had a great job. I made a lot of money when I was young. And all I wanted was that perfect family. Krishna took it away. I got a divorce in the most scandalous way possible. My heart was broken. I was away from my 2 boys, right? At that time, I was like, what is going on here? Why is this happening to me? Right? Because I was too stubborn to ask the question about illusion. So Krishna says, you're too dumb to even ask. So I'm going to give you a reason to ask. Okay. Started going to church, started going to meditation. I'm asking for questions of why am I suffering when something I thought I was doing, I'm a good person. Why am I suffering? Right? So point is, once you start this path, you guys coming to IIT, this program on a Friday night, you've started your journey. You just don't know it. Like Krishna's got you. He's taken you. Krishna means all attractive, right? Okay, it's not secular. God is all attractive, and what that means is he's going to attract you the way you need to be attracted. Some people are attracted to Jesus, which is totally fine, right? Does that make sense? Krishna means all attractive, and that's what that means. So you guys are going to be on your journey, and if you kind of move this way or that way, Krishna's going to remind you, hey, ask questions. Ask questions. And usually how that's done is, in some way, we suffer and we can't figure out why we're suffering. Okay? So that's how Krishna gets you on the path. Once you're on the path, he's going to remind you that you need to do a better job on that path by showing all your ugliness that comes out. Okay, so there's a process, a very scientific process to get you on your journey. Okay, that's what we're talking about today. And then once you start on a journey, oh my God, it is a scientific way to become self-realized. And no doubt, you will realize your position as a server of Krishna and you will be happy. No doubt. Believe me? If you don't believe me, it's okay. So when I was starting my path, I didn't believe it. I was a doubting Thomas for sure, because it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. But what I want you to understand is that it's theoretical concept and say it's possible. The theoretical concept of, hey, did I think one way about something and then I turned over a course of time, I changed my mind because I didn't think, but it happened. Can anybody think of an example in their lives maybe that they could share that at first was like, oh my God, I didn't believe this at all. But then I was surprised that it actually was true or something like that. Can anybody share an example? Yes.
Yeah, so there was a phase in my life where atheism was the cool part of life.
Yeah.
And I had no faith.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm supreme being.
Yeah.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
But
it
then
could be. You never know.
arguments.
Yeah.
But then, as you initially said at the beginning of this talk,
Yeah.
that there are certain things that you cannot see,
Yeah.
but you can experience.
Yeah.
And all I could do was pay heed to those experiences, which I was not doing consciously, but I started just listening to those.
Okay.
Figuratively speaking, of course.
Yeah.
And these sort of experiences got me intrigued, and that's when I started to see that there's something beyond the walls that I built for myself.
You felt it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, that's a very vivid example. That's beautiful. Actually. Thank you for sharing. I was even saying something mundane. So over time, that happens. So If you just are open to the possibility that illusion is there, if you're open to the possibility that once I get firm faith through asking questions, practicing, all that stuff, once I have it, I can achieve the ultimate goal of life, which is to understand my relationship with God. That's self-realization, right? But instead, somehow, think about the powerful, like the power of suggestion. We've been told to think that we can be anything we want, and we believe it, even though it sounds preposterous. No, we can't be anything we want. But the concept of can we become what we were meant to be, which is our relationship, we have a relationship with God. We're like, no way, that's not going to there's no way that can happen. Even devotees, I'll just go along for the ride, see where it happens, I'll be better, because Krishna says, right? Hey, you start on your spiritual journey, you're going to pick up in your next life exactly where you started, so you don't lose anything. So even if you don't reach, self-actualization, you still make progress, which is good. It's good to know there's a backup plan. But that's not what Krishna actually says. He goes, I promise you, in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, right? If you abandon, at the conclusion, if you abandon everything else, all varieties, and just surrender unto me, which is believe what I just told you. That's all that means. Surrender sounds like a bad word. All surrender is, do you believe what I'm saying? If you believe Krishna, what he just said, he goes, I just told you like 5 different things, right? Over 700 verses. If you believe it, surrender unto me, and I guarantee it that you will be successful in your journey. That's a lot of faith. Okay? But once you start on your journey, that statement, that verse of Krishna becomes louder and louder and louder until it becomes all engrossing. Until it becomes so much so, Bhakti Vasudeva Maharaj that was here, he stayed at my house when he came and did the thing. And so rest of them are like, he went to bed after us and he was chanting when we overheard when we walked by. He woke up before us and we woke up early, like, 5. And he was chanting. How does that happen? What do you think the answer is? That voice or that verse, he's living it. It's so loud in him. He's transfixed on it. In other words, he's found the ultimate happiness that we're all searching for. Right? That's the grade, that's the spectrum, but that's the reality. Swamis are a real life example of what we're aspiring to be. But you're like, well, wait a minute, hold on. He's got an established relationship with Krishna as a server in the spirit, but you were talking about worlds, like spiritual world and material world. How come he's not in Swarg, right? Or, why isn't he in Krishna Loka or whatever, right? The point is, Krishna also says, you can have that happiness here. Once you establish a relationship with me, you can be in this material world and be perfectly happy because you're not going to be striving for those resources because I'm going to provide those resources while you do my work. Isn't that what he told Arjun? Fight because that's your job. If you don't fight, doesn't matter. Everybody's going to die here anyway. You will just have to come back in your other life and learn this lesson to what? To do your dharma. Okay, so 2 stories. So I just talked to my wife right before I came in. She's in India. She's in Mumbai. She works for an Indian company, and she just started. And so she was just saying, she's like, I tell them, I'm part of ISKCON and all this stuff. And she was like, she's going to the Chapati temple today. And she goes, they all were like, oh, this is great, except it's a little strict, isn't it? You know, I had an uncle, but he gets up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, no garlic, no onion, no this, no drinking, no that. Guys, I'm here to tell you, and I hope this is not on the internet, but I'm just going to say it. That's not religion, what you can't do. That's just the peripherals. Religion is what you can do. Okay? All these restrictions, that's our mind telling us this is not worth pursuing. That's our conditioning, guys. Because if you look at it in a vacuum, garlic and onion, really? That makes a difference in my ability to be self-realized? No, it does not. By itself. Do that. No way. So there's a story of this. This story is not repeated a lot because it sends the wrong message. But I want to prove a point to you. So there's this devotee in Vrindavan, and people thought he was crazy. You know, he would take care of his deities. He'd get in fights with his deities. He'd be smoking hookah and all this stuff. But Srila Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Vedanta, says, don't mess with that guy. He's self-realized. And so a devotee's like, how can he be self-realized? You see, he's half crazy. He's actually fighting with the deities. He like punishes them and puts them outside in the rain. And he smokes intoxicants. What the heck is going on? And the answer was, you're not going to understand it, so just let it be, but he's a self-realized soul. What is the point of that story? The essence of religion or essence of spiritual life is what we're after, people. We are not after if I cut my hair properly, if I wear the right dress, if I cut out garlic and onion, I'm going to be just fine. Okay. Once you start on this path, you're going to start to realize why some of these things are going to help you increase your spiritual life. Okay? It's going to help you on that elevator. Yes, Mahindri.
While we're, I think, giving this example and all of this, I think a material counter, like a analogy that came to my mind was, I wanted to share was that when we, I guess, look at successful people's interview, right? Like those who are we consider to be like role models in the material world.
Yes.
They also have strict regimen. They have strict time when they wake up, what they eat, what they don't eat, what they do, what they give their energy to, being mindful and everything. So I guess when we apply the same thing to like a religion, it gets a bad rep saying it's restrictive.
Yes.
So
It's beautiful.
I guess that's like a funny thing that came to mind.
No, it's true. I mean, I've got like 4 pages of notes and I've got through half a page because there's such a big topic. She's totally right. Trying to accomplish anything, if you do it half-assed, there's not many restrictions. But if you're trying to be a body, I'm just using, working out, go to the gym, Prakar, go to the gym, put on your best clothes, look good, do a couple of things, you're done. You went to the gym. But if you're trying to be a bodybuilder, you got to watch what you eat. You got to have a regimen that's very you've researched it. You may even have a personal trainer, to your point. From the outside, I'm like, man, that's too much. I'm not doing that. But see, my goal is different, right? That's the only thing that's different. So you're 100% right. So don't look at these outside peripherals, if you will, to stop you from starting your spiritual path. So like if I'm starting on my workout regimen, I'll get to eating properly later. I just want to get in the gym. That's my point. Just get in the gym. You'll realize that the stuff that we're talking about seems restrictive, naturally just falls away. Because why? Because you want to, not because somebody's telling you to. And here's another one I'm going to tell you, a secret of spiritual life. It will never go away until you want to. No one can tell you in your heart, you're still going to be like, well, it's still okay though, because you didn't believe it. All right. So that's the point, right? This restrictive, that's all we go to. That's our illusion. Does that make sense or not? Okay. Now, I'm going to end with this because there's so many ways I can go with this, but all I wanted to tell you guys that it's because of our conditioning that we get confused, right? And because of this conditioning that we get confused, and then what we end up doing is 100% of our effort goes into taking care of our, I'm just going to say body. When I mean body, it means our material life and our family and stuff. And then we lose focus on what are real, and we never get started. So the fact that you guys came in here today, or have been for this semester, that's not just by accident. It's not. Remember my example of my divorce making me ask questions? Now that's pretty dramatic, because I was a lost cause. I was a really bad patient, like I was really hurt. Some of you guys, once you start, you're gonna go. Okay? And you'll feel it and you'll understand it. So the reason you guys are here is because you were destined to be here. There's a reason you're here. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. You may not all become swamis next semester. You may not even want to take up the path next year. Okay? But 20 years from now, you may say, hey, you know what? I'm not as happy as I thought I would be. Actually, you know what? I am happy. I'm just not as complete as I wanted to be. And then you might want to ask some of those questions. That's okay too. See, everybody's on a journey. Okay? Everybody. So you can't say, oh my God, what? This guy, man, he got really hoodwinked and he is like full in Hare Krishna. Right? Whereas the other person, I listened to the guy, I'm not buying it. I'm here. I spent a lot of money coming in. I'm getting a job. I'm not having. He's talking about distractions. He's the biggest distraction to my ability to accomplish my goal, because I don't want to hear about God, because I got a job to do. I'll get to God later, right? It's okay. You're on your own journeys, guys. But if you ask these questions, eventually Krishna will lead you to where in that spectrum, we're all souls at different points in our evolution. So hopefully we'll be lucky. Krishna says, out of millions of people, that try, there's only like one that comes to him. And then you'll be like, well, wait a minute. You just got done telling me that if I try, I'm going to be for sure guaranteed, right? There's all kinds of contradictions. What Krishna is actually saying is, you won't sincerely try until you're ready. But when you're ready and you sincerely try, I assure your success. Does that make sense? Right? So, yes.
But your progress is saved, even if you fail. Progress is saved. You
get to start that class right where you left off, not the F you got in the class. You started at midterm where you had a C. Yep, exactly. Okay, so I'm done because I don't want to go into, we just ran out of time. There's so much more we can get into, but yeah, that's it. So any questions, you guys? Any corrections? Any disagreements? Do you think it's relevant, what we were talking about today? Yes.
Going back to if we speak enough about something, it creates an illusion. Isn't if we speak enough, we are manifesting? What's the difference? Why does manifestation come into reality? Why does illusion come?
Okay, say one more time. I'm trying to understand your question.
So you said if we speak about something, we're creating an illusion. I wanted to be a cricketer.
Yeah.
I'm creating an illusion.
Oh, okay. I think I heard what. Yeah. So I think if I understand your question correctly, what you're saying is, hey, in one respect, it's my commitment. If I commit to being a cricket player, I still wasn't a cricket player, right? And then the other hand, you're saying, oh, you're supposed to be self-realized. How come it'll work on this side, but not on this side? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, if we say something enough, you said that
Okay.
creating an illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll believe the lie. Yeah.
Yeah, we believe the lie. On the other hand, people say that if we say something enough, we are manifesting it. So we can make it into reality. Why does manifestation come into reality? Why does it illusion? What's the difference? I mean, for me, both are same.
Okay.
I'm saying something enough, so I'm manifesting it.
Okay. So my point is illusion. You want to answer it?
No, I just want to say, a follow up, rather.
Yeah.
Manifested reality can also be illusion, can it not?
Absolutely. So my point is not that we can't manifest a reality. What I'm saying is that reality that we manifest can be two. One is illusion and one is real. So instead of manifesting the illusion of the false reality, we should really be focused on manifesting our true identity and reality. So you absolutely can, to a certain extent, manifest certain things. If you like, if you believe the lie, what's going to happen? You're just going to hence focus on it, right? Not about the cricket player. That's a different analogy because he doesn't have the talent to be the cricket player, right? That's not who he's supposed to be. But the illusion of I can be anything I want is false. So you can, if you start working hard towards something, you're going to get some results for it, for sure. You're going to manifest that. I think that's what you're saying. You're going to manifest that. All I'm saying is you need to focus on manifesting a reality and not a false one, right? The illusion of that this is all there is. There's no way this, I mean, that almost sounds absurd to me now. But back in my atheist days, it sounded just as normal as anything else. I was like, these guys are crazy thinking there's something else, right? Okay. Did I understand your question? Okay. Sorry if I didn't really.
I
Okay.
thought if I'm manifesting it, I'm thinking that I want that, but after I get that, I may not want that. So
Oh, well, that's always
ultimately I'm on the journey. I mean, even if I have it, it's an illusion because I'm finding my happiness.
right.
That's
Even
what
if,
you were trying to say.
yeah, if you manifest like material happiness, all I'm saying is it's going to be happiness, but it's going to be short lived. It's not true happiness. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else with questions? Anything else? Any discussions? Yes.
How do you define false reality and true reality?
Okay. So this is what we were talking about. So anything. I'll give you a broad answer first because we don't have time to get into the real. But this is the process. Like that question you just answered or asked can take us a lot of years to truly understand it. But the broad piece is anytime that we're doing anything to support our bodily concept is false reality. And anytime that we're supporting our spiritual self, our soul, we're doing it right. That's the real.
But the soul could also influence to do wrong. I mean,
the soul is pure. It's qualitatively the same as God. And because it's pure and because it's qualitatively like God, it cannot get confused into what makes it happy. Does that make sense? It can't misguide you. It can't misguide you. Where we're misguided is when we think that we're this body. This is like such a fundamental question, but it's so complex if you actually go over the layers. The body, we're not this body, we're the soul. That's the first step, right? But we're also not our mind. That's not the soul. We're also not the intelligence. That's not the soul. Okay? Sometimes the bodily concept, it's easy to get. But understanding we're not the mind or the intelligence is hard to differentiate what's the soul. Okay? So as we study, these are the distinctions that are laid out scientifically for us with examples to show us why we're not our mind, why we're not our intellect. That's called the subtle body. So our physical body is what we see. Our subtle body is what we don't see, which is the mind and the intelligence, right? Huh?
An ego.
An ego and false ego. Not the ego, but the false ego. And the false ego is what? I'm identifying with my body. That's the false ego. Okay? And then after that is the soul. The soul is pure. Everything else is contaminated. Okay? It's a great question. Beautiful question. And that's the process of self-realization. When we can answer these questions for ourselves, you just ask the question. If you ever get it answered in your lifetime, and I pray you do, you will become self-realized because you'll be convinced. That's the journey. Our questions are very fundamental, but once they're answered, I mean, that's why, people can do amazing feats, right? Because they believe in it. Anything else? Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you so much for your time. Probably a little different than the other Maharajas.
Thank you, everyone. We'll have Kirtan now, and then we'll have Prasadam inside, just like that.
Oh, I didn't end with like how Prabhupada always ended. Every talk he ended with, so please start your spiritual journey somehow, shape, or form. Please start it.
Yeah. In the table.
Sound like.
Huh? Because it's more.
You follow some.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare
Rama, Hare Rama.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna